Hey guys, what's going on? It is Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale with another Pro Tips interview, this time with Surgical Goblin, who's going to be back on the channel discussing his rocket ship deck. So without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome in Frank, aka Surgical Goblin. Alright guys, so I am back here with Frank, aka Surgical Goblin. Second time on the channel, man. So happy to have you back. How have you been?
Hey Ash, thanks. I've been doing good. What about you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I mean, we're going to be talking about this this really cool rocket cycle deck that you've actually won my tournament today, and you've won quite a few, a big handful now of grand challenges with as well. Been having a lot of success with it. First, let me ask, receiving a lot of positive feedback from the last time you were on?
Yeah, indeed. Crazy. Especially on Twitter. A lot of your viewers are asking for decks or tips or just being positive on my playstyle and stuff. So I really appreciate it. And I want to thank you about it and all your viewers. So.
Dude, you don't have to thank me. You bring the thunder with these tips, man, and I know people really, really appreciate it, and you are so giving with your time on Twitter. I see you basically all day, giving people tips
True.
and advice and stuff like that, and it really comes from no better person because you're such a skilled player. I mean, you created a name for yourself back in the day during the Brenchan tournaments, back during tournament week when tournaments were first launched, and you had quite a following from that, finishing top 5, top 10, in a lot of those tournaments, and then you just keep getting bigger and bigger. So really excited to have you on again, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
No problem. So let's hop into this deck here today. So before we actually get into the nitty gritty that we love to talk about here on these episodes, I do want to ask. It does have 3 legendary cards. So are there any substitutions for the Miner, the Log, and the Princess in this deck?
Yes. The miner can't be replaced because he has a really special role. I mean, without the miner, this deck doesn't really work, I think, but at least less work because since the balance change come, the pump isn't really viable anymore. So you have to be really patient with the rocket. So that is why I put miner in to chip away at this tower. The princess, you could probably replace it with arrows and the lock zap.
Okay, Princess, Arrows, Log, Zap, Miner, kind of have to have it. I mean, this is a deck that obviously, we'll get into the offensive, utility of this deck and the offensive strategy, I should say, about this deck. But, you're right. I mean, your 2 main offensive weapons are the Rocket and the Miner to do chip damage and, rocket damage and direct damage. So, why don't we kind of hop, before we get into the offense, why don't we kind of hop into the general deck philosophy? So, what are you trying to do here? Is it an offensive deck? Is it mainly a defensive deck? How are you playing this deck going into a match?
Yeah, with this deck, being patient is really key, especially with the rockets, because if you are too aggressive with the rockets, you will lose a lot of elixir. So your opponent could just rush you really hard, and you can't really defend them anymore. So being patient is really key, and mainly offensively, I think chipping away with the miner is really important and trying to place Princess high. But when you know they have log, don't try to give them value.
Okay, that makes sense. So why don't we kind of get into the offense? So you just talked about it. I just talked about it. Your 2 main offensive weapons are the Rocket and the Miner. Before we talk specifically about the Rocket and the Miner, let's talk a little bit about the Knight, the Log, the Mega Minion, the Ice Spirit, and the Princess. Are you using any of those cards offensively on a regular basis? For example, are you playing the Princess on the bridge ever to help with that chip damage in this deck, or are you relying on her mainly defensively?
Yeah, sometimes I do place her high because when I know, for example, I have a elixir advantage, I would just drop miner and then Princess high. So the Princess will shoot the tower and the troops he defends with. And sometimes I know they are playing Skarmy all the time. So, for example, they play the Princess next to their tower. I will drop Miner, and he will think I will go after the Princess, and then he will drop Skarmy. So then sometimes I also use Lock on offense.
Okay, so you might use the Miner, the Princess, and the Log all in one little offensive surge.
Yeah.
Depending on what they play, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, so besides the princess, oh well, you actually, little question here. You mentioned that you play the princess and the minor in combination in tandem sometimes. Might be a stupid question, but I'm curious. Do you have a preferred order? Are you putting the princess down first and then the minor, or are you sending the minor in and then putting the princess down?
Yeah, sending the minor in and then putting the princess down.
Okay. And are you waiting to see what your opponent drops? Like, what if your opponent drops a mini P.E.K.K.A? You're not going to drop the princess, right?
Most of the times I drop it like simultaneously.
Okay.
So, but the Mega Minion can clean up a mini P.E.K.K.A pretty easy. So it won't be a big deal now.
Okay. Good to know. Okay, so now let's move into the big two, the rocket and the minor. So, I think a lot of people who play the minor or who used to play the minor before the balance update, that kind of has really changed the game in a lot of ways. For a balance update that only affected a small minority of cards, it's pretty crazy how much it affected how much it affected the gameplay. But, I think people like me are used to playing the minor in combination with like goblins or something on the bridge to tank essentially for those fast moving units. Obviously, you don't have that in this deck. You're mainly using the minor just all by himself to chip away at a tower. Is that correct?
Yeah, true. Or when I place Mega Minion on defense, I try to make it an offensive push as well. So then I put minor to tank for the Mega Minion. And as you just mentioned, they will counter, for example, with a mini P.E.K.K.A. My Mega Minion will get even more value and clean up their mini P.E.K.K.A on their side.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I just played a match. We're going to get to that in just a bit here. You're going to go ahead and critique my match, which I love. I love when you guys do that. I don't mind if you really tear me a new one. But what I want to do, what I notice is there's sometimes playing this deck as a novice, someone who's just picking up the deck, there's some times when I'm just not sure what to do. For example, I'll be at 9 elixir and then 10 elixir is coming. My opponent's not doing anything because maybe I have like a 2 or 3 elixir advantage. And I have, let's say, an Ice Spirit, an Inferno Tower, a Log, and a Minor in my hand. So that would be a perfect opportunity just to put my Minor all by himself on a tower, right?
Yeah, I will go with Ice Spirit Minor and then put the Ice Spirit first. So the tower will shoot the Ice Spirit and the Ice Spirit jumps on the tower if he doesn't drop anything. And then my Minor will get a few more shots, extra shots.
Let's talk about the Rocket. The Rocket is a card that obviously is expensive, and you can get a ton of value on it, and it's obviously one of your big win conditions in this deck. When, if ever, are you going to solo Rocket a tower? Meaning there's no other units nearby, you're not getting a ton of value, you're just rocketing a tower. Talk to me a little bit about when you're just using the Rocket by itself. I shouldn't say that. When you're using a Rocket against just a tower by itself.
Yeah, normally I don't really do that, except when I know I'm up like a crazy ton of elixir. But normally I don't use the Rocket on a tower lonely.
So you're always trying to get value
out of
with,
it.
yes.
Yeah.
So what is your value marker? Like, are you going to rocket just a Mega Minion in a tower, or are you going to rocket a Musketeer in a tower? Like, where is that elixir threshold that you're comfortable rocketing?
Yeah, it really depends. For example, if a game just started, I would not rocket a Mega Minion. A Musket, yes, I would do that, but a Mega Minion, it is too risky, I think, because they could come with a pretty big push. And if you don't have the right cards to defend it, it could take down your tower. And with this deck, it isn't really easy to take 2 towers.
Oh no, we have a problem here. I rocketed a Mega Minion on my replay that I'm going to show you in a second to open the match. So maybe we shouldn't watch it. I'm just joking. So yeah, okay, I get you. So basically, it's going to depend on where you are in the match. Now, why don't you talk a little bit offensively about how your strategy changes, if any, during the last minute during double elixir time?
Yeah. For example, if I know they are countering my miner with a mini P.E.K.K.A or a Mega Minion on top, sometimes I drop my miner and then the rocket on top of it. So the rocket will get value and my miner can live, so it will deal damage as well. And I also like to finish a game with that combination.
Oh, nice. That's a good advice there. I like that. So would that be like your ultimate combination for offense?
Yeah, if they have 700 HP left,
Mm-hmm.
I most of the times I will go with that combination. Yeah.
Nice. I like it. So that pretty much covers offense, unless you think I missed anything. Did I?
No, not really. Have no.
All right, good. So defense. So why don't you, instead of discussing every single card individually here, why don't you just give us an overall picture of you're going into a fresh match, you don't know what your opponent's playing. You said you like to play this deck very patiently was the word you used. So why don't you talk a little bit about just the defensive philosophy of this deck. What cards are you using in what situations, and maybe how you counter popular meta decks. You can see, obviously, in the replays, you're going against quite a few different meta decks, but if you could just talk a little bit about these decks and your overall mentality, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, most of the time I will, for example, my starting hand is Knight, Inferno Tower, Ice Spirit, Rocket.
Mm-hmm.
I will just put Knight in the back to see what they drop.
Okay.
And if they start with a Lava Hound in the back, I would just go on the other lane with, for example, Knight, Ice Spirit, and Miner, so they can build up a really strong push. But most of the times I just wait for them to drop something first. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine. So when do you use, if ever, the Rocket defensively?
On three muskets, if they are really aggressive, or on a really big Hawk Rider push. For example, Ice Wizard, Hawk Rider, and Mega Minion.
Mm-hmm.
That is 10 elixir, and I can defend it without getting any damage with a rocket of 6 elixir.
Yeah, there's really nothing better, right? When your opponent thinks they've really got you,
Yeah.
When they have like barbarians and a hog rider and an ice wizard coming at you when you have nothing on the map,
true.
And then you're just like, "Hello, rocket."
Yeah, true. Yeah, I love
really,
that.
It's one of my favorite feelings in the game. I'm sorry to say, but excuse me. So. Anything else? You said the princess is obviously, besides using her offensively, you are relying on her defensively. Where do you recommend putting the princess? Because the log is so prevalent in the game, have you changed your princess placement at all? Or how do you use the princess in this deck?
No, if I play against Lava Hound, I try to place her away from the Lava Hound. So if I'm not sure they are having lightning, I try to place her as far as possible so they can't get value out of their lightning. Also waiting with the Mega Minion. Mm-hmm. But overall, the log can kill her basically anywhere, except if you put her behind the tower. But yeah, okay. Most of the times I don't really face Lava Hound that often, yeah.
Well, good. So what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and watch my replay together, and we can go ahead and pause it if we have to and whatnot throughout the replay. And you can kind of I beat this guy, but mm-hmm. I still think it's a valuable exercise. You going ahead and kind of analyzing where I might have went wrong, where I misplayed. We already know that I made one obvious misplay to start things out with a Mega Minion.
Yeah.
But so that'd be awesome if you could do that. And before we press play here, is there any just other common mistakes, just in general, that you see people using with any type of a rocket cycle deck or a chip deck like this?
Yeah, being too aggressive with the rockets.
Okay.
So definitely patience is key.
Okay. So let's go ahead, and whenever you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and I just press the watch button. I'm going to press pause until you're ready to go ahead and view it with me.
Yeah, I'm at 2:59.
Okay, I'm going to go in 3, 2, 1, play. All right,
yeah.
So you can see my starting hand here. Let me know what you would have done here.
Probably Mega Minion in the back and then wait for them to make a move.
Okay. So I didn't do that, and I didn't do the miner. Instead, I did the number one thing I'm not supposed to do, and I rocked 3 elixir.
Yeah, indeed. Also, you leaked 2 elixir, and rocketing it, for example, now, you did have a counter, but let's say if you didn't have a counter, then losing a tower is definitely a big problem with this deck.
Yeah, you definitely need to play cautiously, especially at the beginning. So I was able to defend against that Mega Minion. It wasn't super pretty, but I didn't really have any other options. So I had to use the Inferno Tower to distract, and then the Ice Spirit. But I was okay with the exchange. I'm not feeling too good about that opening, but, what are you going to do? So he rockets me with nothing. That was a big mistake, right, on his part?
Yeah.
Okay. And then he kind of over defends on the other end. He used a Mega Minion and a log.
Yeah, you're up so much elixir. He's basically done right now, I think.
Yeah, so I used the princess way in the back there because I didn't want to put the princess in the right lane, obviously. Then he zaps her. Not sure why there. But he's coming at me again with a Hog Rider. I was ready for it with the Inferno and the log. Kind of bad placement on the log there, but so far so good.
He's really aggressive, and you have like Knight, Mega Man, so I would go Minor now, and yeah, you do that. Well, unfortunately, he hit your Ice Spirit with the lock, but
yeah,
he has 0 elixir to defend you, so yeah, you played that really well.
Thank you. So yeah, that was tower down, so I'm feeling pretty good. Now, once you get one tower down with this deck, are you pretty much...
sit back and play defense.
Exactly. That's what I did too. I didn't really worry about the other tower, so I'm playing the princess again in the left lane just to make sure I keep her far away from the log.
The rock.
And
the rocket, yeah.
And then he rockets my left, so... this guy, maybe he's just picking up this deck too and trying to get used to it like I am, so definitely nothing against him personally, but he is making a lot of, probably
mistakes
in terms of elixir trades. He's definitely not getting a lot of positive elixir trades here. Although he does stop that little offensive thing I had going on the right pretty well there.
Yeah, also, as I just mentioned, rocketing a lonely tower in the beginning puts you in a really bad situation. You saw that in this replay. He rocketed your lonely tower because he thought he was up a lot, but you could kill his tower pretty easy because you were up. And also here, this is a really good example when you get value out of a rocket on defense. That was well played.
Yes, at the very end there, it was just like, okay, rocket time. So yeah, that was pretty good. And I liked the deck. Not necessarily the most competitive match, but it was my 7th win in a grand challenge. So pretty happy about that. So why don't we go ahead and wrap things up here? But before we do, is it okay? I should have asked you beforehand, but is it okay if you have all these people reaching out to you on Twitter? Do you mind it? Because I don't want to flood you with spam, but at the same time, I think that people really appreciate your advice on their decks and stuff like that.
No, I really love to have interaction with all the viewers and the viewers and followers on Twitter. I had interaction with followers before I came on your channel, but after being on your channel, my Twitter blew up, and I got a lot of DMs and deck questions or just positive feedback, and I really like that. So thank you all.
Dude, thank you so much. It's really an honor to have you again, Frank, and it's really a privilege to interview somebody who's not only a really, really good player, but obviously a really, really good guy, too, just helping out so many people, and just wanted to thank you for everything that you do for the community, man. You're definitely a class act.
No problem.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure we'll talk to you soon, and good luck in all those tournaments and with this deck, man. I hope you do very well and continue to do very well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem.